So, dear Dhamma friends, it's nice to see everyone again. I took a little break because I was very busy with work. It's budget time and late nights and everything. And I wanted to prioritize self-care and needed some downtime. And the only time available was Sunday because Saturday I had committed to the Dhamma school where I'm a vice principal. And so Sunday morning was very precious for some downtime and the evening for downtime and family time. Um, so that is why we took a break. However, the need to start this program again, I felt it very much. Anyway, I was planning to start in February. So last week, Monday, my mother suddenly fell ill. So she's 80. And the symptoms were the symptoms of a stroke and a heart attack combined. But when the results came later after many investigations, it was neither. It was to do with she's in the early stages of dementia. So the conclusion is it's an acceleration of dementia, and with that some uh, minor things like a minor dehydration or a minor infection could have set off a chain reaction, which led to symptoms that are similar to a mild stroke or a mild heart attack. So anyway, on Monday, my birthday, my 51st birthday was on the same week, Friday. So on Monday, I thought that the mother who gave birth to me might be gone by my 51st birthday. And that, of course, made me very emotional. I think more emotional was to see her in pain because she would hold her head and say, it's paining. And I think that is what made me emotional more than the first thing. To see a person I love so much who has been there for me all my life. Even like up to last week, she will stay up until I come, no matter how late I get. So to see a person like that in pain and not be able to do anything to minimize that pain makes you feel very vulnerable. So I was feeling very vulnerable in the hospital, and um, I couldn't help um, stop myself from crying. And then I was surprised. I was thinking, I teach the Dhamma. I have been teaching the Dhamma for 11 years now for students on impermanence, and I teach meditation and I focus on impermanence myself. And why am I no different to a person who doesn't know the Dhamma or who doesn't practice it? Then I realized that I am no different because I am not reminding myself of the fact that there are two parts of the mind. One is the flowing mind, which flows with emotions as those emotions arise, which flows with thoughts as those thoughts arise. And unless you are enlightened, every person is wired to that emotional flowing mind first. And you have to remind yourself and consciously go to the still mind, the other part of the mind, where you can observe the emotion um, with no passion or aversion, what we call dispassion. And you can just observe that your emotional state is in such a way and so on. And also just observe the body feelings, which reminds you of this is the Vedananupassana part of it, where we have those various very what do you call subtle feelings, which we practice to observe, like those tingling sensations in the palm, in the feet. For me, it keeps changing. So sometimes when I want to think of impermanence, I just focus on my palm or the feet. But from recent, I noticed that I just notice a tingling sensation in my jaw area, in the middle of my mouth, near the teeth, and like everything is impermanent, that it's like putting a switch on. So when I think of impermanence and Vedananupassana, my thoughts just focus on this jaw area for some reason, and I just go with the flow. So, and then when I started feeling the tingling sensation, which is an indication, a reminder that our body is dying every smaller than a split second. And the fact that our normal senses, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, doesn't grasp it. And that is why when the inputs come from our normal five sense doors, it feels like the brain interprets it, and it feels like I am the same body that was there from birth up to now. I'm the same person that was there from birth up to now. Of course, I have got older, but conceptually, it's the same person. So that is a belief that has sunk in over the years, and it's very strong. It's like a concrete. It's based in concrete, and it's just recently that I'm chipping away on that concept. So the concept is still very strong. And then when you focus on those tingling sensations, you remember that actually, even though that seems to be the truth, it's not. It's a perceived truth. It's um, it's a perceived truth because it's coming from perceptions, but the reality is very different. In the reality, I don't exist because even for a split second, I don't exist. Every tiny um, piece of what do you call particle that makes up my physical body, it is too tiny to see, and it changes at such massive speed. It's too fast to even comprehend. And therefore, this body that I think I have carried across these 51 years doesn't exist even in this moment, because it is getting born, it's changing, and it's dying at a speed that the human brain cannot fathom, and it can be understood only through the Vidarshana meditation. And that is why the Buddha said the problem for people in this world, he called them the Pruthakjanas, the non-enlightened people in this world, is we believe that the perceived world is the real world, and we are not aware of the real world because it cannot be perceived. It can only be quote unquote seen and understood through wisdom, through vipassana meditation. And he was the only person in the world who said that. And even to date, anyone else who is saying that are saying it because he found out and he told, and then others are checking it out and thinking like, yeah, nothing else made sense, and I'm very unhappy, and I tried many things to be not unhappy, and nothing made sense. But this is making sense, because when I'm very unhappy, when I focus on this truth, the truth makes me calm, the truth makes me calm down. So that is what happened, friends, at the hospital. In my emotional state, I would start crying, not like, howling and crying. It's just like tearing up, and maybe a drop of tear rolling down the tears, that kind of thing. It's embarrassing to, cry at any age. And then I would then consciously focus on this truth and feel the sensations, and I feel the sensations, and then I will reflect on the Dhamma behind those sensations. So, and think of the whole impermanence the way the Buddha taught it, and not the way we see it. We see impermanence as every 10 years we see a picture and say, okay, yeah, that's true. I am changing. I am growing old. But when I look in the mirror today, it looked like the same person in the mirror yesterday, right? So we fail to understand what impermanence really is, because our eye does not have that scope. And when you reflect like this and realize that we are so wired and trained to think wrong thinking, that when the truth is available, because it is not hardwired into our thinking process, it doesn't come naturally. But what I consciously started doing was, whenever I felt sad, I just shifted to the truth, and it made me calm. And by the time my mom we discharged her on Thursday. Um, uh, I was not emotional anymore because I was using those 4 days as an opportunity to stay in that Dhamma and remind myself about that Dhamma. And I was initially in the Pandura hospital with my mom, and then for the CT scan, we moved her to Kalabovila. So it was a very busy hospital, and I really appreciate the efforts the doctors, the nurses, and the attendants put in there. It was massively crowded, and it was the staff was all overworked and under resourced, but they would be just running the whole time, attending to people, and it's amazing to see. And people, there were people in various states, and it was a good observation for me about um, how when we don't accept this reality, how it can look shocking to a person who believes that the perceived world is the only reality. But when you accept this reality, how what you see in hospitals is very normal, and you wonder like why did you fail to see this before? And while I had many friends and others who wanted to support me and stay with my mother in the night, I told them all that I want to stay a night with my mother. One is I know it makes her very happy. Second is I felt as a daughter, every daughter should do this. And thirdly, it was also an opportunity to see what life is in a government hospital, and especially a very busy place like Kalubovila. What happens there? And I was totally amazed. You can almost say that your faith in human beings got restored about the selfless work, the effort put in by especially the nurses and the doctors. It's amazing how much effort they put, and they look so tired as well. Um, and I just wish that we could have put up more buildings so that people could be more comfortable. Um, and I was thinking how blessed we are that in a country that is in the middle of a financial crisis, um, there are hospitals run free for people to make use of, and there were all walks of life there. And for the doctors and nurses, there was never any difference. Every life was a life to be saved. Um, so I would actually say it's a good experience. And then on Friday morning, when it was my birthday, I never celebrate my birthday. There's nothing to celebrate, right? You start with 100% of your life when you're born, and you are every day you live, that that pot starts reducing, right? So if you really look at it from a realistic way, there's nothing to celebrate because you are getting closer to the end. um, and anyway, my celebration is inside me and not outside. So how I celebrate not just my birthday, every day when I wake up, I feel grateful that I'm alive, because in my current Pruthakjana state, I love myself and my body and my life, and I am not ready to leave yet. So I feel grateful that I'm alive. Then I feel grateful that I have an economic means of living, because through that means, not only I can live and not only I can help the people I love to live, I derive so much joy of doing generous deeds, helping people who need help. And that is one of the main reasons why I want to work as long as I can, because I want to be in a position where I can help people who I want to help, and never to be thinking that, oh, I wish I could have helped them. But to be in a position where you can help people is such a joyful thing. So with such grateful feelings, I start the day usually. So for my year, I thought I'm 51, and to be grateful about things that are there in my life right now. So so gratitude, I celebrated gratitude, being grateful rather, and that was a lot of joy. Being grateful is such a important part of happiness. As lay people, we pursue happiness through material things, like even small things like eating ice cream or piece of birthday cake. We fail to understand that the human mind, if you look at it as a design, it was designed to get happiness through being grateful, by being generous to others, and by helping others, by speaking kindly to others, by making life a little bit better for another person. That is how the mind has been designed, but people are not aware of this, and they by experience, they have found out that when you eat ice cream or a piece of cake, you feel happy, and that is the path they follow. They also have experienced that when you're kind and generous, you feel happy for a longer time, but somehow it has not got internalized. So many people don't know this, that it's available inside you. It's an inbuilt design, and I have Christian friends here today, and I tell them, in your faith, where God designed man, God designed this as part of a system, and you need to understand and respect that, and make use of it. Um, and that will lead you to happiness, and the doors of heaven gets open to you, because you will be helping the people that God put on this planet. Um, and for the Buddhist on this call, I tell you that the um, the human mind and the body combination. Uh, in that combination, the mind is what really, what do you say, determines whether we are happy or sad or whatever it is. And in that mind, what the Buddha found out was there are two natures in that mind. The first nature is where you latch on to things that your sense toss at you, and you already have a pre judgment on whether you like it or you dislike it, and based on the two, you emotions start arising, feelings start arising, and you start reacting based on those emotions and feelings. And that is the flowing part of the mind. Because of your five sense doors, you need the mind sense door as well. Mind sense door is an input as well as a consciousness. So that's the flowing side. And our entire life, we are flowing with various emotions. And those emotions are triggered because of the various inputs that come from outside. Now, through meditation, the Buddha realized that these inputs are coming from outside, and outside things are triggering these emotional reactions inside. And then he started investigating through meditation. Is there something that can be done inside so that these outside factors, because what he said was, if you are going to react based on these outside factors, you are like a puppet, right? Because you are not in control. Like a puppet, whatever gets thrown at you, you are reacting. You really are not exercising an ability to choose of whether to react or not. And in trying to investigate that, he realized that there's another part of the same mind. The other part was, that part is still, that part is silent. And that still, silent mind can observe without liking, without a dislike, without any kind of attachment, because like and dislike both are attachments. You get attached with like, or you get attached with dislike. he realized that this still, silent part of the mind can observe without attachment that flowing part of the mind. And he realized that when the still part of the mind is observing the flowing part of the mind, the flowing stops. And this was a genius discovery, because here lies the answer to a question that human beings have asking from whatever the time human beings started walking this planet. How to be happy, how to live life without anxiety, without fear, without sadness, without sorrow, without worry, without depression, without greed, without jealousy, and so on. And this was the key. That is, whenever you observe that you are in a state of mind that is not useful for you, which is mostly the negative states of mind, you get into that still state and observe that emotional state and everything else surrounding it. And it stops. That's number one. Then he started investigating further and he realized that where is this emotion starting in the first place? So when you see something, you get emotional. When you hear something, you get emotional. So is it a problem with the eye? Is it a problem with the ear? And he realized that no, the eye is made of flesh and nerves, blood vessels, and eye is just a door only. And the eye sees colors and shapes, and that data gets transmitted like electromagnetic signals through the optical nerve, goes to the brain, and in the brain is like a supercomputer. It has stored memories. The memories that we had from the time we were born, and mainly the memories till the age of 15, 16, those are the main memories. About 60%, 60, 70% of our biggest issues come from these memories, and those memories were made when we were too young and too immature. Imagine 60 to 70% of the decisions, prejudgments we carry to date, the judgment was made before we are 15 years old. And based on those judgments, we have a label of this is what I like, this is what I dislike. This is why people say, oh, as a child, even I didn't like this. Even as a child, I didn't do this. You know, it's coming from there. And then he realized those preconceived notions and judgments is what makes us react emotionally. So those judgments make us emotional, and then we react emotionally through our words and our actions, because those emotions come as thoughts. We get flooded by thoughts. How dare she said that? Who is she to say that? Who made this mess in the house? I cleaned it. I took so much effort and I cleaned it. And in the next 1 hour, these kids, they're absolutely useless, right? Why can't my husband say that he loves me? I do so much hard work. You see this, these are all coming from, it gets triggered from the external environment, but the drama is in the mind. The drama was not externally. So then he preached for a long time. He told people who were willing to listen, Dutu de, dutu pamanai. What is seen is only something seen. It's just colors and shapes. The drama, the melodramatic interpretation of it is something you do for yourself. What is heard is just sounds for your ear. Your ear does not know that somebody is calling you. Your ear does not know that a bird is chirping. Your ear does not know that some irritated driver is honking for you to get out of his way. For ear, it's just a sound wave. And he realized that if you just treat external data as they are, which is only external data, most of your problems will get resolved, because the melodramatic interpretation is something you do in your mind. So he discovered many, many things. So then he discovered that, okay, even these melodramatic interpretations, you can change over time once you realize that you are you as a concept does not exist. And we'll come to that later, otherwise we won't have time to meditate today. And I have shared this before as well. So you as a concept do not exist to start with. And therefore, when you think that, how dare she said that to me, you realize that that is the problem. The melodramatic interpretation is coming because you think that somebody has offended you, or somebody has disregarded the hard work and the effort that you put in to keep your house clean, or that somebody who should love you more than anything else in this planet, and trust me, they do. It's just that they don't communicate it. And like most humans, or almost all humans, they will realize how much they loved you when you are gone, because that is usually, human beings are really strange. In order to realize the value of something, they have to lose it. That is that lack of gratefulness when something is there already. So he started realizing that even those judgments can be changed. And those judgments, it's not that we are consciously changing it. It subconsciously changes when you meditate on impermanence. And when you meditate on non-self, those judgments just fade away because they don't make any sense anymore. They have no value. And as you focus on impermanence, non-self, and how misunderstanding of those two, how seeing things as somewhat permanent and as identifying yourself as a self, how that leads to so much unhappiness. And he said there are three characteristics of this world, of this universe, of anything that was born into this universe. There are three characteristics, and that is, they are impermanent, they will change and fade away, guaranteed. And that is a very sad situation. Number two, guaranteed. And anyone who doesn't understand this and believes something else is going on has not understood the non-selflessness of existence, that there is no existence to start with. And he said, those of you who understand these three characteristics because you really understand it, you will live a very happy, peaceful, calm, chilled life, because you have achieved the highest mental development that is possible for a human being. You are an enlightened human being. And any one of you who have not reached this state, you will be very unhappy. You will be miserable because you are like a puppet. So, friends, enough talk. Let's practice, because what the Buddha clearly said is, you cannot intellectually. So there are three ways of getting this wisdom. The basic way is to listen and understand that the world that we live in, there are two worlds in it. One is a perceived world, the world we perceive through our sense doors, and we have constructed some melodramatic interpretation, which we think is real. And the second world is the world you can observe through the still and silent mind, where there is nothing, and whatever there is impermanent and changing. And observing that there is nothing. When there's nothing to do, nothing to see, nothing to think. And that is where your peace comes from. And he said, wisdom is about knowing that reality and being able to live in the perceived world with other people who believe that perceived world is the reality. That is wisdom. And I believe that is the middle path he was trying to teach us. How do you balance these two worlds, knowing that this is the reality, and how do you live in a world with people who have no idea about this reality, and they believe that this perceived world is a real world. And the Buddha said, and those people are like mad people. They are mad. They are crazy. And how do you live with mad and crazy people? And right now we are all in that mad and crazy lot, but at least we have started that journey of transitioning. We have started that journey in transitioning. So whenever you feel, so friends, this is the bottom line. Whenever you feel depressed, whenever you feel scared, whenever you feel angry, whenever you feel sad, know that you are living in that mad world. And then just knowing that, just reminding yourself that will temporarily bring you into that peaceful world where there is nothing to say and nothing to do because there's nothing anyway to start with. And so let's come into that peaceful world at least once a week on a Sunday and practice. So how do we practice this? So we have to get used to observing from this still and silent mind. And the simplest way to do that is to sit comfortably and sit still, because the flowing mind is always running, 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 running. And that is why in our life, we are always running, 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 and running. When you get into that still and silent mind, you need to first still your body and still your mind to get into that still and mind, that very powerful, subtle, still and silent space of your mind. So we do that by sitting silently, and that is why we need to develop our ability to sit for long times without moving. It is a skill we need to learn and develop. And then closing our eyes, at least temporarily, the eye door is shut down. We can assume that temporarily the nose and the mouth is also shut down, because right now there's nothing to get excited from a perfumery or from a food point of view. And then we have three doors to deal with: the ear, the body, and the mind, the flowing mind. So the flowing mind you will recognize instantly because it's still running, it's getting distracted, and you gently, patiently remind yourself to be still. And that's a skill we develop. And today what I want you to do is focus on what you hear and what you feel on your body. If it is easier for you to focus on one thing, then just focus on what you hear. As normal layman living in the mad world, we get highly irritated by things we hear. So let's say there is unpleasant sound. We get so irritated. We are like, yeah, somebody stop that, will you? Okay. So I want you to recognize that. I want you to recognize that when you hear a sound that you dislike it. I want you to recognize it. I want you to see how you dislike it, those emotions, the emotions that are associated with dislike. What are they like? Can you see that you are now disliking something? And maybe you will hear something you like. Now, usually I like birds chirping, not like a crows crowing, which usually my instant feeling is like, yeah, right. But when you hear little tiny birdie chirping, you feel like, oh, how sweet, you know? So that is what you have to recognize. You recognize that, and that, oh, how sweet. You recognize that. And you will see that how you are a puppet to all of this in your normal life, where all of these preconceived notions are making you get into a chain reaction, which finally ends with words and actions that continue to cement that original judgment. Okay? And imagine doing that in my case for 51 years. Some of these preconceived notions are very, very strong. And only very recently, I have been looking at them with dispassion. So, like sometimes when something is concreted, you need to take a little chisel and start chiseling away. Let's start chiseling away, friends. Just observe, do nothing. So, the secret formula to be happy is to do nothing, because there's nothing to do, nothing to say. Therefore, you do nothing. And that's what we are going to practice now. We are going to practice doing nothing and just observe. Just observe. Okay. So those of you who want to observe sound, please observe sound. Those of you who want to observe the body, because Your body will be telling you a lot of things now. My body was telling me from the morning that I have a slight backache and it's uncomfortable, right? And it's one of those days where it's going to be uncomfortable. It all depends on a posture I adopted while sleeping, and as a result, now there is a lower backache. So I will be observing that and just observing like what it means, how it changes, as it changes, how my emotions change, how I want it to go away. You know, we humans in that mad world, we are control freaks. You want to control everything. So I will be observing how I want to control that pain. I want that pain to go away. All right. These are the things to observe. From your still and silent mind, you can start observing everything that contributes to that melodramatic reaction in the end. So let us do this, friends. Let us observe for 30 minutes. Now it's 9:15. Let me keep the timer for 30 minutes. And then we will ask for feedback from those of you who like to share. And then we will practice for a week, ideally every day, in the morning and the evening. If you want to be happy, friends, this is something you need to do. Practice in the morning and the evening, because for 50, 60, 70 years, depending on your age, some are very young here, 25, 35, 45, whatever your age is, you have practiced wrong thinking. So in order to practice right thinking, you have to practice. And that is why morning and evening, at least 5 minutes a day, morning and evening, building a daily habit. Ideally is if you, for layman, the ideal is 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening, and we need to get there. Let's get there this year, friends. Let's start with 5 minutes. Okay, so that's later. Now let's do 30 minutes of observing, doing nothing. Let us start now. I will pause the recording for the benefit of people who are listening so that they don't have to listen to silence for 30 minutes. So I'm pausing it now.